Hey, this is Caleb. Thanks for joining us here in Millennial Z as we take a look at how to customize your UI in the Lord of the Rings Online, as well as a couple of other quality of life tips. So to start out with customizing your UI, you're going to want to access the UI customization. Now, it's not under your options. It's actually accessed by holding down Control and backslash. So when you hold down Control and backslash, this is what you're going to see. You have all of these ghost marks, and in the upper left-hand corner, you have a circle with the arrows there that allows you, if you grab that, you can move those around. So just about everything on your screen is movable, including your own character portrait and vitals. You can put those front and center if you want to make sure you're watching your health, things like that. So quest tracker, also a big one that you might want to move around. Get it kind of lined up in an area that makes sense to you. There's really a lot of options there. One of the things I like to tuck out of the way is the quest pop-ups. I like those to be kind of down in the corner where I can ignore them. Now, I've got a little more room to work with. I'm using a pretty large resolution. I'm on a 27-inch monitor, so I have a little more room to play with than I have in years past. So, don't feel bad if you don't have that much space. It's actually more critical to adjust your UI when you don't have a lot of space. Get it the way you want it. Move things around where you want them. When you have a lot of space, there's a little bit of freedom there. But yeah, no, I've played on some horribly tiny monitors. Laptops I had to sit on box fans. I had a desktop I had to sit on a box fan at one point just to keep it running. So, that's really great when you're trying to voice chat. Really does not go over well with the group. But at any rate, this is how you're going to do that. Very quick, very easy. Get in there, drag stuff around, and you'll find the setup that you like the best. Now, one thing I would like to point out off to the side here is you'll see that I have these two quick slots, and I use those for my travel skills, my pets, my mounts, things like that. I also have my hunter tracking skills up there. To access those, you're just going to go into your options, and you're going to go down to quick slots. You'll see that I already have this up here. So one thing I will point out before I mention those is the locking the quick slot bars. So if you have that unchecked, you can accidentally grab your skill and chuck it off in the heat of battle. And I think everybody's done that. And so I'll often see questions from new players. Oh my gosh, I lost the skill. How do I get it back? Well, you get it back by hitting the key, the K key, and then you can scroll down until you find the skill that you lost and just drag that skill back down to your quick slots. But to prevent that from happening in the first place, you simply lock those bars, and you can't do that. It will not let you to drag those off and lose them, which is pretty good. Also in here you have, if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see what I'm looking at here. I have always show bar 4. I can turn these off so that they're not there. So if I don't want a lot of clutter, I don't have a lot of skills that I want accessible, I can do that. I have them on, so let's turn those guys back on. You also have the option to dock them. Docking them attaches them down here to your main set. So docking bar 4 and 5 will stack those guys up, and they're all right there. I don't like that. I find it a bit cluttered, and especially because I'm using 4 and 5 as travel skills and things like that, things that I'm just frankly not using very often. Whoops. I undocked 3. I was like, man, those are not the same skill sets that I normally have. There we go, back to normal. Because these are not super critical skills, I want them off to the side. I don't want them cluttering my combat area, which is not the most organized, but I'll walk you through my system while I have you here. Basically, on the bottom row, these are my normal, frequent, except for that. These are my normal, frequently used skills. And I also have these bound to the number pad. And so, I'm using these very frequently. Swift bow, flaming upshot. These are things that I'm going to be using repeatedly in battle. My next bar are things that I use sometimes, kind of often, but not all the time. And so those are going to be my first section. And a lot of times the reason I do that is because these are you activate these by holding down Control and then your number key, and I only use the first handful of those because I can use the number pad with my right hand, and then I can interject with these with my left hand, holding down Control and hitting those numbers. And that just works for me. Basically, anything above this, I'm almost always going to use the mouse anyway. I don't use these very often in battle in the midst of things. So it's just kind of, it's really just a personal preference. And I do need to clean it up. It is a bit messy for what it is, but that's what I got there. All right, let's go over a couple other quality of life things. Let's take a look at the chat. So the chat has the option to drag it down, drag it across. It is somewhat limited though. It is somewhat limited as far as where you can position it. It's going to be in this location, so there are some limits there. One of the things I do in my chat, you'll notice that the world chat is like a pink fuchsia kind of color. So if we go into options and hit chat, you'll go down and you'll see that each of the types of chat, including all of the user chats, can be made a different color. So you can choose, whatever color of the rainbow you want that chat to be, you can make it that. Now, also, you can choose the fonts. So let's take a look at the world chat. And right now it is 16 pixels. Let's make it 23 and accept. And that's not gonna, looks like it's not gonna change right away. So I've not really messed a lot with that, but there is options in there to do that. I'm assuming as, let's try it. Let's try it out. Okay, there we go. So it's not going to change anything that's presently there, but it does change anything going new. You can see I asked a question about the key mapping in there just to clarify something, but I've got the larger font, which is nice because I've really impressed with the diversity in this game. There are some older players. I'm not gonna reveal how old she is, but my mom plays the game, and I'm 34. So I'll let you do the math as far as what a statistical average might be there. But my kids play the game. I play the game. My mom plays the game. We got 3 generations playing it. And that's pretty fantastic. So no jokes. If you want a larger font, you can do that and get that larger print, make it easier to see. And I do the colors just so I can quickly mentally sort that as I'm looking at it, and I can kind of ignore what I want to ignore in the moment. Now I also do, I make these tabs, and let's turn off the UI to get that clutter out of the way. So if you right click, you can see that I can rename the tab. I can create a new tab. Right, so I created combat and standard tabs, and then you can change the filters for that. So let's take a look at the standard chat or the standard tab. If I go to change filters, you'll see that in this I have a handful of filters available. Most of these are just there because I don't really see them very often. But what the standard tab is for is it lets me see what I looted or what my group looted. So if I'm in a raid, or I'm doing something, there's a master looter, and I want to see how the loot was distributed, I can go into the standard tab and see that. So that way it's not cluttering up my main chat. I'm not looking at this all the time. I have my general chat open, and then I have my standard off to the side. So if you're not wanting to see all of that, you can kind of have it tucked away. And that's what I use my standard tab for. I also have the combat tab. And I use that because as a hunter, anytime I get new gear, I like to go out and try my Heart Seeker. I do my classic camouflage, burn hot, improve focus, and then Heart Seeker in an effort to see what my crits are hitting. And then I can go back. I do have the floaty numbers up visual on the screen so I can see them happen, but they do disappear. And just for clarity's sake, I can go back through the combat tab and see how my skills are performing and what they're doing. But I don't want to see that all the time, so that's why I have a tab. I do have a fellowship tab as well. I put the kinship and fellowship chat in there. My kin is not very chatty, so it's not overly distracting. I do that when I'm running with particularly a pug group and I just need to be able to see what everybody's saying, so I have that active there. And then, of course, general, that's what I'm using 90% of the time, and I'm able to go in and just, world chat, kinship chat, fellowship chat, it's all there and present. All right, so the last thing I want to show you is if you go into options and take a look at your UI settings, you'll find that there are a lot of options here as far as your toolbar, left slot, what goes where, what belongs where. You can change your floating text size. There's a ton of stuff. I'm not going to go through it. You guys go ahead and do that, but you can really take some time here and show what you want to see and change what you don't want to see. Chat bubbles are really cool, actually. I turn those on for certain kin events sometimes. Anything in the Say chat channel will show up in a chat bubble. It's kind of neat. And also, I think one of the most recent ones I changed was the induction bar, and I added that. And now I'm not going to see it because I have the bar checked, but I added the induction bar so that I could see when bosses were running the induction. And that's a really useful thing. One tip on that, if you do use that, you're going to have the names, floating names, showing for that to work. Otherwise, it will not show the induction. So there's a tip for you there. All right, but anyway, that's how you customize your UI, and that's how a few other things with the chat, some things you can mess around with. Recommend just playing with it. You can always go back. You can always hit the default UI button for any of the things that are changed within the options panel. But highly recommend you play around with it. Find what works for you. Find what makes sense for you. Find what visual display is less distracting or gives you the information that you want, and so on. As always, if you found the video helpful, hit that like button. The videos that have more likes, let me know what kind of content you want and what kind of content you found helpful. So that's the purpose of what I look for in the likes. Videos with less likes, I'm going to stay away from that kind of content, and I'm going to focus on the stuff that you guys find useful. As always, also subscribing is going to give you notifications when I put a new video out. I do recommend doing that. We're looking at that time of year where I get the option to have some time off of work. So I'm intending on putting some videos out here this weekend and into next week. So hopefully, get a lot of these 101 type tips and tricks kind of videos. We'll get those out there. So if you want to get that notification, hit that subscribe button. And otherwise, share it with the new players, and let's get that information out there. We can find ways. Took me a long time to learn some of this stuff, and we can certainly make the learning curve a lot easier for newer players. All right, thanks for your time, and we'll see you in Middle Earth.